today and you taking fractions and turning them into whole numbers. So previously, we looked at fractions as these parts of a whole. So I could take my whole rectangle here and I could divide it into equal parts. I could divide it into 4 parts here. Each of these would be a fraction that is 1/4 because I've got 4 equal parts. And perhaps here I've got shaded just 3 of them. I've got 3 of them shaded. I know that in this case, my fraction is 3 out of 4, right? Or 3/4. Um, at some point or another, though, you get all of these green pieces put together, and you now have one whole. Okay, and I want to try to emphasize how we go about representing these whole numbers, fractions as these whole numbers. So here, let's try it on our number line again. We're going to divide this into 4 parts, and we're going to label them all each time. And here, I've got 4 parts. This first part is 1/4. My second part here, I know I'm at 2/4 because I've added my 1 and my 1 together. I've got 2. I've added another quarter. I'm at 3/4. Now here I'm at 1 here, and that can be represented now as having 4 total parts. My 1 part, my second part, my third part, and my fourth part here. This would be 4/4. And I could do that for any number line or for any fraction. Here I could move this down, and I could do this here for say tenths, right? I might want to see how many tenths is one whole. As you can imagine here, as I start to divide it, I'm going to divide it in half because I know that since it's an even number, I can always divide it in half first. It's roughly about right. So I've got 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, and then my middle is 5/10. They're not quite on. I like them to be a little bit more precise, but that's okay. We're gonna live with it for today. Here, as I keep going, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, and again, as I keep adding on, I have 10/10. These are equal. Um, what do you notice about the numerator and the denominator? That's right. In this case, both of them are the same. So I have all my parts on the top are on the bottom. Here again, if I were to go through this and to kind of go through, I might decide, hey, I've got here's 4/10, right? But at some point, if I keep on adding on, I add on the rest of this here and keep on going all the way up. At this point, now I've gone all the way up and I've gotten myself to 10. Okay. Um, so you could do this for any fraction. I could decide to divide a whole into 100 parts, like you would with pennies. Say, because pennies, if you have 100 of them, they're equal to $1. 100 out of 100 would be one whole. You could do this for other whole numbers also. So I can make my number line go further and decide that here I want to do this is 0, say 1, and this is 2. Okay. And maybe I come down here and I'll just give myself an opportunity to extend it a little further if I want to, just in case. We'll just keep going here. Here, if I want to divide this here into, say, 6 parts, I would go here again. I start with my one whole, again, 6, right? So here I'm going to divide into one whole. I divide it in half because it's an even number. Here I've got 1/6, 2/6, 3/6. As I keep going here, I've got 4/6, 5/6. And then the last one obviously is 6/6. Now, what do I do between 1 and 2? Here, I don't start over. I keep on counting because now I have 2 wholes. So here again, I'm going to divide it into 6 parts. But here, what I'm going to start to do is continue counting. So I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 7/6, 8/6, 9/6, 10/6, 11/6, and 12/6. Here, it's like I had added another 6 onto here to get myself to 12/6. Also, take a look. I could take this number 2 and multiply it by my bottom number, and that's going to equal my top number. We'll get a little bit more into that later. Let's try one more example as we're working today. We're going to do that for all the way from, again, 0 to 2. And we're going to do this again, going here. We'll label our number line. It's equal parts between 0 and 1 and 1 and 2. And then here, we're going to label it just as halves. What do you think 1 is going to be? 1's going to be how many halves? Okay. And what do we think 2 might be? Think about that before we get started here. How many halves is it going to be to equal 1 whole? Or if I had 2 wholes? Might even be easier to think of as a pizza, right? I got 2 pizzas and they're both divided in half. How many total halves do I have? Right? I've got 1 half, I've got 1 half, I've got 1 half, and I've got 1 half. I've added them all together. Let's see what that looks like on our number line. Here, I'm going to divide this in half. I've got 1 over 2. Again, as I get to 1 whole, that is 2 over 2. So 2 wholes is equal, or 2 halves is equal to 1 whole. I need to divide this again. Here, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to make this 3 over 2 because I've got 1 over 2, 2 over 2, 3 over 2, which then makes my next one, you guessed it, 4 out of 2. Okay, because I have 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's where my 4 comes from. Okay. Try this as you're working today. Again, trying to find wholes and representing them as fractions. Extend your thinking a little bit and try that for also for the whole number 2, not just 1, but 2.